Hi, my name is Susan Peach, and I teach website optimization and online business building through the Microbusiness Training Program. And I've made this short video today just to talk a little bit more about one of the issues I frequently help clients with, and that is image optimization on the website. The reason that this is important is because your images can actually bring quite a bit of traffic to your website depending on your niche, whether your product or service focused, but many people aren't using image optimization to its fullest potential. It's not particularly difficult to understand or implement, so I'd like to tell you a little bit more about it. Just before we get into the nuts and bolts, though, let's just take a step back and get the big picture about what search engine optimization is all about. It's actually quite a lot of techniques rolled into one. There's really no magic bullet. There's no one thing you can do that will make your site rank higher. Instead, there are many, many small things that you can do, each of which, if done correctly and well, tends to just give the search engines a better idea of what your site is about so that they can more closely match it to relevant search results. And that's what results in better traffic and more traffic to your website. So some of the major areas of search engine optimization, and this is by no means a complete list, but just to give some context, would be meta tags. This is the part of your website that your visitors typically don't see. This is not displayed on your page. This involves things like keywords, your meta title and description, which show up in search results, and that the search engines actually read to help determine what your page is about. Search engine optimization also includes on-page optimization, and that would be optimizing your text, images, and other content on your page, again to better match them in search results. And then finally, a third major method of search engine optimization is what I call off-page optimization, and that would include such things as quality incoming links and social media signals, things like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, how active your site is on those media. But as I say, today we're just going to look at optimizing your images for hopefully better rankings. So there's basically three ways that you can make your images work harder for you and bring more traffic to your website. Just before I get into them, I'd like to give you a little bit of an analogy about why this is important and how it works. More and more people are using image search, particularly if they're looking for a specific product, but also in other instances. And so if you can have your images properly optimized for search, you can gain more traffic to your website through those searches. So essentially, properly optimized images act like more doors into your website. So let's take a look at how you can make that work for you. Number one is to use good image naming protocol. And what I mean by that is, first of all, find a good keyword related to the content of the page you're writing and the page on which the image will go. And it's really important here to stress research your keywords. Don't just guess what people might be typing in. If you don't have and use a good keyword research tool, I strongly recommend that you get one and start using it. It's worth its weight in gold. So find a good, relevant, high-value keyword that is pertinent to the page and to the image that you're going to use. And then include that keyword in the image file name. So that is what you actually call the image when it's on your hard drive. And then finally, you're going to hyphenate the words in the file name. And that's for two reasons. One, it usually makes it easier for you to read, but also using hyphens makes it a little easier for the search engines to read what you've typed in the file name. Because if you think about it, a search engine can't look at an image in the same way that a human visitor can. So a search engine needs alternate ways to figure out what's in that picture. So if we can use hyphens between the words, it just makes it a bit easier for search engines to scan that and understand what's in your image. So here's an example of image naming protocol. Here's a picture of a Porsche 911 Targa top model. And on the left-hand side, you will see an example of typical image file names that I might see associated with this photo. The first one is just a random string of numbers, and as you probably know, if you take a photo on it with your camera or your cell phone, this is typically the kind of name it's assigned, just a random number string. Unfortunately, too many people don't bother to change that. So now your image file name is a random string of numbers, and that doesn't help the search engines understand what your picture is about. The second type of file name is one that might make sense to the user. If this is my mother's car, I might rename this image Mom's Car. And that helps me understand what it is, but it's not particularly helpful to the search engines, and it's not particularly relevant to the image in terms of what my visitor or my potential visitor might be searching for. The third example, 911.jpg, also could be read as 911.jpg, so you can see it's a shorthand version that again reminds me what the image is about, but could be confusing to a potential searcher or a search engine because it's not specific enough. So a better choice for naming this particular image might be Porsche 911 targettop.jpg with hyphens in between. Now that's assuming I've done my keyword research. Remember, that was step one, and I found that the keyword Porsche 911 targettop is a good high value keyword to use. So I'm going to name my image for the keyword using the hyphens or dashes just to make it easier for the search engines to read. Tip number 2 is to make use of the alt and title tags. Now, these are actually in the HTML code for your site. So if you're using a site builder, which most people do nowadays, very few people hand code anymore, you may not even know that these exist. Different platforms have different ways of allowing you to add these. Some allow you to add one or the other or both, and some unfortunately don't allow you to add either. Now, if you can't add them, it's not the end of the world. Again, remember that search engine optimization is all about doing a lot of little things right. So if you can't do this one thing, not to worry. But if you can't find the place where you would enter the title of the photo, then I would suggest you email your site building platform help desk and just ask them, how can I add alt and title tags to my images? So a title tag is what appears when someone's visiting your site and they hover their mouse over an image, and I'll show you an example of that in just a moment. So it does appear on your page. Alt tags are, alt is short for alternate or alternate text, and originally back in the dark ages of the internet, when lots of people had image browsing turned off because it sucked a lot of bandwidth and slowed down page load times, the alt tag would display to tell you what the image was that was missing, and then you could load it if you wanted. These days, the alt tag is more commonly used to help visually impaired users understand your visual content. So their page reader would read the alt text to describe what's in your image. But an interesting point is that both tags are used by the search engines to help them figure out what's on your page and what is this image about more specifically. So it is important, if you can, to use them because it does provide another clue. Here's an example of alt and title tags in use. You can see my photo again here. And if this photo were on my website and I were to hover my cursor over it, you can see the little cursor arrow. You've probably seen this. A little light yellow box pops up, and there's some text in it that usually describes the photo. In this case, Mom's yellow Porsche 911 targettop. So again, I've used my keyword in the title tag, and you can see what the title tag looks like at the bottom of the screen. That's what it would look like in the coding. The alt tag is displayed just above it. That will not be visible on your page unless for some reason the image doesn't load, and then it would tell the user what was on that page. Well, let's go forwards instead of back. So number 3 is to use a good descriptive keyword near the image. So now we're talking about the text on your page, not meta tags and not file names. So once again, research the keyword, don't guess. That's so important because if you're calling it by a keyword that no one's searching for, it won't help you. So what happens in this case is that once again, the search engine is trying to figure out what is the visual content on this page, what's in these pictures. So one of the methods that a search engine will use is that it will scan nearby content, written text, to help determine what that photo might be of. So chances are, if you've got an image on your page, you're going to talk about that image near the image, either above it, below it, or beside it. So the great thing about this is when you use a properly optimized image that's relevant to your content, that matches the content, and enhances your written content, it improves your chances of ranking well for both text, so the page result, and also in image search. So one complements the other, having the well optimized image and the text nearby that's well optimized too. So here's an example of how to use keywords in nearby text. In this case, I have two ways I'm doing it. To the left of the image, you'll see actual text that might appear on my website if this were a page on my site. And this is my mom's yellow Porsche 911 Targa top. There's my keyword right there in that sentence close by, and then there's a little bit more text that just fleshes out. And I also have used a caption in this example. Right below the image, you'll see a slightly different variation of the keyword Mom's 1980 Porsche 911. So what I've done in that case is assumed that I've got two fairly decent keywords here, and I'd like to capture both. So I've used a caption that uses a slightly different keyword. And this is a great way to incorporate additional related keywords into your page text. But by having the keyword near the image, I'm helping the search engines understand what's in that picture. Something I'd like to point out that's very important though, just before I wrap up, is that search engine optimization should really be something you do to help the search engines better understand what's on your site. And the reason I stress this is that the number one thing a search engine wants to do as far as helping visitors is concerned is deliver relevant content. So if you make your goal to help the search engine do what it wants to do, then your pages should naturally increase in ranking. You should see them kind of rise up or bubble up through the search results naturally. On the other hand, if you just try to optimize with a singular goal of how can I rank, how can I get more traffic, then you're likely to cross the line into some of those gray areas and possibly could see penalties and lower rankings in the long run if you start to use questionable practices. So I always recommend simply help the search engine do its job. Make it easy for the search engine to understand what's on your page, and optimizing your images is one way to do that. If you'd like to learn more about the Micro Business Training Program and the many courses that they have available for small business owners, you can visit www.bcmicrobusiness.com to learn more. And if you'd like to find out more about the specific website training and online business building trainings that I offer, you can visit the Chamber Learning Network at www.chamberlearningnetwork.com and just search on my name, Susan Peach. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you found this helpful.